The mystic understanding of the oneness with Source is enlarging itself to the evolutionary consciousness that we're all members of one planetary body. We are the lucky generation born precisely when the connectivity is about to happen, where the breakdowns are getting the most intense and literally dangerous. My interpretation of the crisis is that it is not a mistake, it's a natural overgrowth of self-centered consciousness in a finite system. That pain of the crisis is dangerous because if we don't respond quickly enough, we could actually lose the life support system and destroy our species. That pain has to be real, because if it wasn't real, you would never get a mass awakening. So the mass awakening is spiritual because people are suddenly empathetic with people all around the planet. If a child is starving in Africa, I feel it. That's absolutely new. To be able to extend your care this far and to be able actually to deepen your own spiritual attunement, not simply because you project it on a god or you project it on some great master, but because through evolution of consciousness, you're internalizing it. So I think we're seeing the evolution of that spiritual sense of connectivity, love, and empathy, partly out of the crisis. We're about to wake up to the enormity of our capacity as a co-creative, co-evolving, universal humanity. That's never happened before, that a species about to become self-destroyed would wake up to the fact it's destroying itself and other life and decide to change. So the crisis is activating conscious evolution. This is a mass wake-up, probably as great a wake-up call as we've had since self-reflective consciousness came in, maybe 40,000 years ago with the early Homo sapiens in the Neanderthal world. We're awakening on the inner plane to what has scientifically recently been called the zero-point field. Or in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, it's the field out of which everything is arising. It's the consciousness force of universal creativity. If we have enough of us intending to be loving, intending to be creative, intending to connect, intending to become aware of ourselves as a whole, that we can create a new civilization. And that civilization has been the aspiration of humanity from the beginning. And usually we thought it had to happen after death. People really didn't have much hope about life on this earth at all. What I sense from an evolutionary point of view is that hope and that aspiration for something beyond this life is actually what's being born, but in the next phase of life. And it's extremely important during the crisis to have a vision of a positive future. And this humanity has been envisioned and sort of prefigured by the great mystics and seers of our species. But it has never been incarnated en masse. Never on this planet. So the entire human race is being woke up to its responsibility. And in metaphorical terms, it's the 8th day of creation. It is said, as a metaphor, that on the 7th day, God rested and saw that it was good. Well, on the 8th day, humanity is awakening to see that we are responsible. And the old gods have gone home. And the new godliness is incarnated in the person who is expressing that creativity as their own yearning to connect, to love, and to create. And if you think of an evolutionary spiral, formation of universe, earth, life, animal life, human life, and us going around another turn on the spiral. And let's imagine we become one coordinated, whole, planetary, peaceful culture. We're not stopping there. That's the beginning. That's the beginning, not the ending.
The amazing wisdom teachings that I've found that revolve around 2012 in the ancient Maya world, it's really two parts. There is a profound spiritual wisdom teaching that applies to cycle endings, and as fate would have it, we are the citizens of this cycle ending. And there's also a very sophisticated astronomical science that one finds in the Maya calendar. Basically, 2012 represents a rare astronomical alignment. It's an alignment that only happens once every 26,000 years. It's basically an alignment of the December solstice sun, its position in the sky, with the Milky Way. Specifically, that part of the Milky Way that contains the center of the Milky Way, the galactic center. This is a very interesting situation because it seems that the Maya recognized that the center of the Milky Way galaxy that lies between the constellations of Sagittarius and Scorpio could be conceived as the womb of the Great Mother, the cosmic center, the origin place, the creation place in the sky. And they believed that when Father Sun, the December solstice sun, came around to align with the galactic center, that would be a situation in which the world would be reborn. Incredibly, the ancient Maya astronomers, some 2,000 years ago, became aware of this, and they projected forward to our time, the time of this rare galactic alignment. And they knew that our time would be a time of great transformation. And the challenge that we have before us, the challenge of moving this forward and moving successfully into a new era, is then answered by the teachings in the Maya creation mythology. So you really have this really amazing sort of two-part understanding of the world. They had a profound astronomical science, but they had a very deep and profound spiritual teaching that went along with it. The Maya creation mythology is a wisdom teaching. It has to do with the hero twins, a deity named Seven Macaw, and another deity named One Hunahpu. One Hunahpu is the father of the hero twins, and he journeyed to the underworld to do battle with the lords of darkness. They tricked him, and they cut off his head. At this point, the divine being, One Hunahpu, forgot his eternal divine nature. His head was hung in a tree, and luckily, a maiden came along, and the skull that was hanging in the tree said to the maiden, "Hold out your hand." The skull spit into her hand and magically conceived the hero twins. The hero twins were later born, and they realized what happened to their father, and they vowed to avenge his death. So the hero twins also journey to the underworld. They do battle with the Dark Lords, but being tricksters, they succeed in tricking the Dark Lords, and they sacrifice them. One of the Dark Lords was named Seven Macaw. This is sort of like the chief of the lords of the underworld. Seven Macaw is the vain, arrogant, megalomaniacal ruler that appears at the end of the cycle, so the hero twins succeed in putting him back into his place. Then the hero twins are able to successfully resurrect their father, One Hunahpu. This symbolizes the opening up to a greater consciousness that can occur at the end of the cycle. So there's really two parts to the so-called prophecy of 2012. The first part is that the archetype of vain, self-serving egoism will be ruling and ruining the planet. The second part of the prophecy is that through the principle of sacrifice, Seven Macaw can be put back into its place and the true consciousness can be restored. So descending into the darkness is necessary. It's a necessary process. And the full cyclic process of that is when that being gets restored once again to having a full awareness of its divine eternal nature. But it's returning back to that awareness with something else, something new, the final piece of the puzzle that does truly allow them to be complete beings. And that is a knowledge of the possibility that it can go through a fall or a state of limitation. It's the battle between the limited ego consciousness and this larger unity consciousness, this understanding that everything is interdependent and that we are parts of a greater whole. It's really a symbolic story for our own resurrection, for our own return to wholeness. What happened to one Hunahpu is something that has happened to all of us. We fell out of eternity. We lost the connection with the divine source. And the process of going through our own inner underworlds, of confronting the fears and restoring a soul loss that happened, is the process of regaining our wholeness. 2012 is the invitation to engage these great processes of our own cosmogenesis, of our own birth. It's not about destroying the ego. It's about, in a sense, making the ego transparent so that the divine, eternal light can shine through. If we're not in touch with that, or we don't believe that to be true, it's because we have not had an initiatory glimpse of this reality. This would be sort of a direct experience for ourselves that the entire world is rooted in an eternal, infinite, divine ground. In many ways, I think that 2012 can be thought about as a collective spiritual initiation for humanity. That is its true promise. It's not an end. 2012 is not the end. 2012 is the beginning. It's the beginning that is signaled by and triggered by the initiation that we can all facilitate for ourselves, the initiation into a direct awareness of our spiritual natures.
We are experiencing so much trauma on the planet, and you can see it with what's happening on the planet. So that very thing that's happening externally is also happening internally. The global crisis that we are experiencing right now is the trigger for our initiation. Initiation means that we are initiates, which means we are seeking enlightenment. We are seeking to realize who we are. And because we have forgotten who we are, which is all part of the divine plan, it is now time to remember who we are. So our initiation is about remembering that we are divine spirits, that we are Creator itself incarnate. And initiation also means that we will face our deepest fears, where we are separate from God itself, where we are separate from one another, where we feel that we are unloved, where we feel that we are not enough. So our initiation is about unraveling those beliefs and shifting and penetrating these beliefs so that we no longer believe these beliefs and we can emerge in the truth of who we are. So I want you to imagine a light from up above, a brilliant, bright, white light, beginning to shine down into the room and filling the entire room and touching everyone present. And we're going to create a very safe, contained environment where anything is possible. Anything. And this light is like magic. It literally will lift from your body whatever you're ready to let go of. All of the structures that we have been living for thousands of years are beginning to crumble. And as that crumbles and falls away, it also allows for what's inside to crumble and fall away. We have nothing to hold on to anymore. We have nothing to grasp onto. And we are desperately trying to hold on to the old ways. And the old ways don't work anymore. We're in a new paradigm. We're transitioning into a brand new paradigm that we have never known before. So everything has to fall away. It's much like back in the times of the pyramids when the initiates would literally put themselves into different chambers and also the sarcophagus to face their deepest, darkest places of fear. That exact same thing is happening. The electromagnetic fields around the planet are actually causing all of humanity to be as though they are an initiate in the pyramids, and we are feeling that intensity, whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not, whether we want it or not. The good news is it's also helping us to actually bring forth what is deepest inside of us so that we can begin to clear that and begin to face our deepest fears, just like the initiates. What they were really doing, they were facing the fear of their death, which is truly the ego death, has nothing to do with who we are as a spiritual being, and everything to do with the false self or the ego. They would literally transcend and transform and transmute these really deep, dark places inside, and in doing so, then they could literally come in, the higher self would literally come into the body, and then they began to live their true self, their God self, their higher self. And that is exactly what's happening right now. If we can remember what we're really doing here, what our purpose is, that we are a part of this incredible, divine, orchestrated plan that is really about living on the planet Earth and having heaven on earth as a human being, creating our reality. We have that potential. We have that possibility. This is like the greatest opportunity humanity has ever experienced, and begin to use it in a way that supports this expansion, that allows us to become who we truly are, which are these divine light beings, these God selves, these creators. This is like the shift of the ages, and it has been prophesied for thousands and thousands of years. And, there are so many spirit beings and higher level divine beings who are supporting us and helping us and have been witnessing this expansion and this growth. So it's up to us individually to realize what's really taking place here. Yes, it's a crisis, but it's a crisis that is going to help for humanity to awaken. That's what it's truly about. It's about the awakening.